Hello, climbers, and welcome to Season 4 of Climbing Mount CMMC. Climbers, and welcome back to another episode of Climbing Mount CMMC, the podcast. My name is Kaleigh Floyd, and this is Bobby Guerra, and we are a part of an MSP called Axiom that is CMMC Level 2 certified. We have been documenting our journey for many years now on us becoming CMMC Level 2 certified and getting clients through their own certifications. And we're very excited to talk about how you know or how you can know that your provider can get you through a CMMC assessment. Now, we are talking specifically about CMMC Level 2 assessments and specifically done by a C3PAO, right?
Mhm.
We've talked a few times about how you can do self-assessments for level 1 and level 2 and what it means to go through a self-assessment. I'm pretty sure that we already have a video that we just posted probably last week about it. So we'll put that in the link in the description if you want to learn more about self-assessments. But right now we're talking about a C3PAO out of your organization, coming in and looking at your stuff and getting down to the brass tacks of it all. And is your provider, which could be an MSP, could be a consultant, are they helping you get through it? And so, Bobby, if it's okay, I want to set the stage of the reason why this is so near and dear to my heart right now and why I
Okay,
thought we should bring it up. Okay.
go for it.
So many people that I have talked to that are contractors that have come to us with trying to get CMMC Level 2 ready, they have been burned in the past by situations where they thought that a provider was going to get them, through the finish line, but really they were just an Uber driver to, to the event.
That's a good
And then it was
analogy.
up to them to actually run the race. You know what I mean?
Well, if you
And
think about
so,
it, it's pretty easy to get involved
yeah,
doing stuff for CMMC because it's so big.
yeah.
But you can move the troops around, but that doesn't mean you're ready to lead a battle, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and so that's why I specifically worded the title the way that I did of getting you through an assessment, because it's one thing for somebody to come in and help you with documentation building and get you, to where you're starting to get ready for phase 1 of a C3PAO assessment for level 2 versus somebody who's going to be sitting with you through the actual assessment itself and maintaining that environment with
Right.
you afterwards. Those are very big things, and it should be clearly defined, I think, when going down this road hand in hand with somebody. Okay, so what we are going to do is give very practical, very specific ways that you can discover if the provider that you have next to you that's helping you get through this is doing it correctly and can actually get you through it.
Right.
And so let's get into this. Bobby, what would you say is the number one thing if somebody came to you and asked you that question? What's the first thing that you would ask from that provider?
Well, I think you just have to know the rules of engagement. You've got to
Mhm.
know the understanding. There's a difference between like any sport. There's a difference between knowing it at a level of knowledge that you could participate and play in the sport
Yep.
versus knowing it enough to referee it. Those are two different, substantially different levels of knowledge and understanding. What I think a lot of people think is, well, I'll just need to know enough to play. Sadly, you almost have to be at the referee level in order for you to appropriately participate in the ecosystem to help someone get ready.
Mhm.
So that would imply that if you're using a provider, or some type of consultant, would you hire someone to train you to fight that's never been in a ring and won an actual match? No, you wouldn't do that. That's the stupidest thing ever. No one would do that. But
No.
all the time, people are like, "Well, we'll hire this consultant. I know security. I've read the NIST 800-171 alpha controls. I understand it."
Mhm.
How many assessments have you guided, like a C3PO third party assessment? How many have you guided them through? How
Mhm.
many, and do you really, have you gone through the courses, the CCPs, CCAs, for you to really understand and be tested on
Mhm.
your understanding of those controls? That I think is the hardest thing. And you would want to ferret that out when you're talking with someone to try to understand. Do you
Yes.
understand the controls at an assessor level so that you can help me? Because that's what you're preparing for. You're not
Mhm.
preparing for someone less than assessor who's going to assess you. You're preparing for it. So you've got to get them ready. And so you've got to ask those probing questions to
Mhm.
get in there to understand. And if you are helping someone do that and you're charging them money, shame on you.
Mhm.
Shame on you, and send me whatever emails you feel like you need to. We can talk about that. But because the reality is there is a difference. You would never go into a fight if you haven't been in the ring and actually sat through and looked eye to eye with
No.
assessors and gone through and do those types of things. And it doesn't matter if you've been in the industry for 20 years in the government. Nope. Like sitting in an actual assessment to help them pass is different.
Yes, I
It's
agree.
very different. So you've got to understand the controls.
I also can't explain to you how many times I've been in sales calls with a person who is the cybersecurity, liaison of that company. And they say, I know a lot about security and compliance, and that's what I do for them. And normally they're pretty mean to me at first. And I'm like, that's awesome. And they have a lot of experience.
And they come
But
after you because they see this pretty young little brunette wearing glasses who obviously can't know anything about
no.
CMMC or the industry. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you have no idea.
But it's like the thing is they probably know a crazy ton more about certain, maybe ISO, requirements and things like that. And that's excellent. That's great. You need to know those things for something. But not this. It's different. It's not the same thing. And I think to give an analogy on that is like, they are really, really good at soccer, but I would not just randomly throw them in a lacrosse game and say, "Go for it." Do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
well, they've got nets. You're scoring goals. Do you score goals in lacrosse? See what I'm saying? And you're using sticks in lacrosse and you use your feet in soccer, you know?
So let's take another example here. This week, the time of this recording, I'm actually going through teaching the CCP course for a bunch of students. And it's been such a blessing to get to work with so many different people. Corinne is letting me
Mhm.
teach one of her sessions this week, and it's been so much fun.
Mhm.
But there are people that have CSEP courses that have been in the industry for many, many, many years, and they've read through the controls. And when they go through it, they're like gobsmacked
Mhm.
because they're like, oh my gosh, that's what that means. Like this 15-20% of the controls, they're just getting gobsmacked on
Mhm.
because they thought they knew it. And they probably might have, before they went into going through the course, thought that they knew it well enough to get somebody ready for CMMC. I
Mhm.
talked to 3 different students. They're like, after they're going through, they're like, I think I'm going to throw my SSP away. Not that that's our goal when we're going through it, but like we did it too. We threw
Yeah,
our
we did too.
SSP away
Yeah.
3 times as
Yeah.
we went through and understood the industry better, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So trust me, folks, you're human just like everybody else is. And if you're stepping in this space and you've read it and you're living in an echo chamber and you think your understanding of those controls are perfect as far as the way DIBCAC and assessors are going to look at it, you've got another thing coming.
Mhm.
Wake up,
Mhm.
folks. That's
Yeah.
not the case. It wasn't for me, and it's not been for everybody I've ever talked to. But if you're the magic exception to the rule, you're the snowflake in the industry that somehow you're just perfect in every way, then go at it, bro. But, everybody's different in the
Mhm.
environments that they have, and you've got to really understand the controls. And the
Yeah.
only way you can do that is to get a lot of exposure and have worked with different people and seen different perspectives so that you can understand how to properly attack each individual assessment objective correctly.
Right.
Very, very difficult.
Yes. So, if we're layering the questions that you should ask this provider to really get an understanding and a pulse on, on their heartbeat of CMMC, the first and obvious thing is yes, they need to know NIST 800-171 controls and have read it. Like what Bobby was saying, obviously, they should definitely do that. But specifically, what can really get you to the point, which Bobby has mentioned already, is have they gone through an assessment
Right.
themselves already?
Right.
So, a way that you can obviously tell that is they're CMMC Level 2 certified. Like if they're an MSP that's CMMC Level 2 certified, great, they can do that. RPO might not necessarily get CMMC Level 2 certified, but you can ask them, have they gone through an assessment with a client before and actually gone through it and had them pass? We got some of those questions in about February of 2025. I had somebody come in and they asked me that. And I said, we've gone through our assessment and we have
Right.
passed, but it just started the other day. And
Right.
we haven't had enough time to go through it with our clients. Now we have. But at that time, it was too early. It's not too early now. So you
Right.
can definitely ask that question. So you should. You should ask it. And then the next
But
one that I
you're saying that you've helped someone get through the assessment
right,
successfully,
gone
right?
through a
Okay. Yeah.
C3PAO level 2
Totally
assessment with somebody.
Totally agree with that. I mean, a lot of grace had to be given last year for people because,
Yeah.
like you said, the industry just started, so you wouldn't have. But now we're now passing the year mark
Mhm.
that it has went live that you could actually
Isn't
have
that
an assessment.
crazy? Wow.
I think it was the third or the fourth is when assessments actually could have started.
Yeah, January.
January of last year. So we just went over. In fact, I did my first attestation in January of last
Mhm.
year, like, no, not January, December, like 30th. I went into SPRS and submitted. Like, so all these firsts are starting to happen for a lot of
Mhm.
people. So now you can start requiring and asking for people to, like, okay, show me the receipts that you've gone through it. You should definitely ask that.
Yeah.
If you have, how many you have you sat assessments? Like, I have not actually assessed, but I have sat through multiple assessments, helping guide speaking
Mhm.
and ambassador. So basically what we would like, if a client picked us, like, we've done what you're expecting us to do multiple times, and
Mhm.
help them go through it and pass successfully. So that's what you want to see, someone that has done that, right? Not
Yeah.
that, I can speak the lingo, I can say some words, I can spit out some DFAR clauses, I can talk higher level than you are,
Mhm.
but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean you're ready at the level of where you're gonna need to be to get them there when you're looking eye to eye, and you're locking eye to
Exactly.
eye with an assessor. It's scary stuff.
Exactly. Yep. And somebody might be asking, well, where is like a certain, is there evidence or something that they could show me in this case? Because they can't really show you the assessment itself, right? Or
Right.
they might not want to give you the names of the people, whatever. But something that they definitely should be able to show you is a customer responsibility matrix that they fully already created, because they should have already had that when walking through the assessments that they said that they've gone through already, right? So if you are bringing an external service provider, an ESP, through a CMMC Level 2 assessment, you are required to have a customer responsibility matrix that lists out what they do and what they don't do and what you do. So what you handle, so that the assessor can look at that and be like, I'm speaking to this person about this topic, or oh, I'm speaking to this person about it.
It's so funny. So imagine if you were like, "I would like a new minivan." Kaylee just, my daughter, in case you didn't
Hmm.
know, had a so I'm granddad number 2,
I
right?
have
And
2 kiddos
they
now.
just got a minivan, right? Would you go to the parking lot of the dealership and you're
Mhm.
like, "I really would like to get a minivan." And they're like, "That is so cool. Here's some pictures of minivans, and this is what they can do." And you're like, "I totally understand that, but I would really like to take this minivan for a test spin and sit in it and see it, look at the glove box, see how far I can move the seat back. Can all my crap fit in the trunk? Does it fold back? Does it, you want to take it for a test drive." And I can't tell you how many people are like, "Oh, well, we'll build it after we talk with you." And you're like, "What?" Like, I understand you could customize it, right, to make it better for me, but you should have a ton of minivans in the parking lot for me to look at,
Right.
right? I should be able to touch, smell, and if I wanted to, which is really weird,
Yeah.
lick the car so that I know it's actually there, you
Sure.
know? I don't know if a dealer's ever seen,
Please don't lick
someone like
minivans at
a
the
lick
dealership.
test. Yeah, that passes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanna do that.
If they have said if that provider has said yes to the question of, "I have taken people through a CMMC Level 2 assessment," then this is an easy yes. I do have a
Slam
customer
dunk.
responsibility matrix, and yes, I can show it.
Well, more than that, honey, it's like they have the CRM, but they should be able to show examples of the SSP that they're going to modify, like already
Yeah.
built. Like,
Yeah.
here's all 320 assessment data. We're going to start plugging in stuff. We have all the policies ready to go. I've got the plan from start to finish for you.
Mhm.
You just got to tell me, and we'll add all the nice little bells and whistles to this van that you want to have, but it's ready to go. But I can't tell you how many people are like, "I want to step in this space and I'm going to learn on your dime. I don't have any minivans in the parking lot. I have no shared matrix at all, but we're going to do it together and we'll build it as a team." Like, if you want to work with a custom builder who's not really ever built a custom home, then that's on you.
Yeah.
But that's not for me.
Yeah.
I
I
would
would
want to
not
see
recommend.
I want to see a full parking lot of options. And it's just people don't look at it that way, and that's just crazy talk.
Yeah. Another thing is too, like if you're using an MSP and they have to bring an outside consultant that knows CMMC to come in to help them,
That's one of my favorites.
That's a little
Right,
bit of a red flag, and
right.
I'm not saying that MSPs shouldn't learn about CMMC. They should. We really hope that more MSPs step into this space because we need them. We need implementers, but not learning on the client's dime, not taking them through it at the same time. Wait a second, get yourself ready, and then help your client out with it, you know? But let's talk about something specific that you made me think of when you're talking about how they should be able to show, evidence of like an SSP example and things like that. Another thing that we do talk about in here is the requirement for an agreement to be shown
Mhm.
for phase one of a CMMC level two C3PAO assessment. Could you explain to people that's like the part two of the CRM requirement is required
Yeah,
when you have an ESP, and then also an agreement between you and that person and how that is important?
that's a low key one that I think some people miss.
Mhm.
Traditionally, MSPs, when they get into space, that if or consultants, they're like, "We'll just get into space. I know security. I've read the NIST controls. Maybe you might have implemented it for other situations, things. Fine." And so you go to get in it, and then you're like, "We're just going to use the normal agreement that we have for whatever consulting that you go to do." Okay, that might be fine there, but if you're an MSP and you're going to be responsible for the controls, that's different. It's different because the I need to in my agreement show, and technically if you look at the cap, it says that they that if I'm an external service provider providing some of those controls, I have to provide an agreement and the matrix like she talked about
Mhm.
that shows that to some extent I'm held accountable to that.
Mm.
That now I am responsible for the patching or vulnerability scanning or the SIM tool, whatever that might be that you're providing for them. You've got to have an agreement that says, "Yep, that's my job. I have it responsible." And that's why we went through and for us and had an attorney and spent a lot of time, very, very painful process
Mhm.
to go through to have the matrix incorporated in our agreement. So it talks about, so that now we know that we have the matrix that calls to that calls to the agreement. So there's a flow through there. And then an
Mhm.
assessor wanted to get in the weeds about that. They could look at that and they would find what they're looking for and they would be happy. A lot of times they don't, but if they did and you got punted out of phase one because they phoned it in on their agreement and it didn't really have any type of rhetoric whatsoever that to talk about what that is, boy, what a big egg in your face as a MSP.
Yeah, that's
That would be really frustrating. You know, you're like got
yeah.
all this prep work and you don't even get to come to you don't even get past the gate to get into the game. You didn't even get to
Mhm.
see it. They were like, "Nah, go back to the parking lot. That ticket's fake."
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like,
And that happens a
"Yeah,
lot. Yeah, it does.
sure."
Yeah. Another one that I wanted to bring up, Bobby, that somebody asked me about the other day, and I was like, ooh, I can't wait to talk about this on the podcast, which is somebody said to me in a meeting, well, you do MSP services, so you should already have a tool stack. And isn't the tool stack the same as you, if since you
Oh,
already serve clients in the exact same way as an MSP, shouldn't you already have that ready and prepared and the same for CMMC clients? No. The short answer is no, but we could get into a longer one now that we're on a podcast
right,
episode. And let's talk about that because we have actually seen and experienced and talked to multiple clients that have been like their bridge was burned with their MSP because of the tools that they brought to the table
right.
for their assessment. Like talking about the assessment itself, they have gotten screwed over because of the tools that were brought into even just phase one. And they realized, oh crap, we didn't even realize that this tool had this capability and could do this. And it's not FedRAMP approved, FedRAMP authorized. And we don't know what to do from here, and
Mhm.
that is a major change. So basically, you're donezo, and that's that. Got to start over again. And so I think this is very, very important to bring up when you have a provider, an ESP that's in your space, what tools they're bringing and have added to your space that they're managing, and how they can take control over those. Bobby, do you want to speak to this as an MSP owner
Yeah,
of
do
many
I?
tools
Yeah.
yourself?
So first off, don't hear what we're not saying. We're
Mhm.
not saying that all tools have to be FedRAMP authorized. We're
Mhm.
not saying that. We're
Right.
saying that some tools absolutely do, though. And an example of that would be your RMM tool.
Mm.
Name an RMM tool that doesn't probably I can't think of any that don't have embedded in it remote access capabilities and file transfer capabilities. I can't think of
Kind of the
one.
point of an RMM,
Right.
to be
I
honest.
can't think of one. So that means if you have the agent there, it's going to be able to do stuff. And if it's a cloud tool, that cloud tool is going to be able to call back to its cloud, and whoever wrote that is going to have ultimate access, even if they say I pinky promise don't. They're probably going to have that.
Mhm.
So having a FedRAMP solution addresses that challenge very neatly and cleanly. Okay.
Mhm.
Now there are other tools that provide security functions. We're not going to talk about those, but that's not what we're specifically talking about. We're talking about tools that are going to have agents that have capabilities.
Mhm.
So you got to really understand what those tools are doing and how they can do it. And some of the tools that we work with are extremely expensive pricing and licensing wise at scale in the compliant GovCloud environment. So would you roll that out to all of your commercial clients, Kaleigh, at that higher cost for no benefit?
Absolutely not.
No.
If you don't have to. Surprisingly some people would not necessarily think that we feel this way, but surprisingly, we don't want to charge our clients extra money that they don't have
Right.
to.
Right.
So we do care about that.
So, and you have situations where you have clients that may have two different environments, one that may be in scope that will be part of the assessment that have much, much higher, stricter governmental requirements, like CMMC, for example. Actually, the government requirements would be from DoD that are going to be adherence to 171.
Right.
CMMC is just the assessment process. So
Right.
let's not get those two confused.
Yeah.
But the reality though is that maybe the client, maybe you as an MSP might be supporting, and they have two environments, one that's commercial, and you can use the commercial tools and support them at a lower cost, still provide the security that they want to have, but maybe they're not going to need that assessment ready level of compliance that they're looking for with CMMC because they're very different. If you go in and go, well, I could be able to do both, one of two things are wrong. Either, man, you're coming in hot and heavy on all of your commercial clients, like at a crazy level,
Mhm.
or you ain't coming in hard enough when you're looking at your CMMC side, right? It's going to be one or the other, but it's not going to be, I'm like, so you cannot approach those the same way realistically. They have to be different.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to make the commercial people have to be. They don't handle CUI. Why would you
Right.
take it to that extreme? And if the United States really felt that should be the case, then they would try to force CMMC on every single
Right.
company, which
There'd
good
be no
luck with
scope of
that.
it.
But yeah. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about is an implementation package or some sort of package to get you through. I feel like this is a great question to ask your provider when you're either choosing them to come into your space or they've already been for the last few years your provider for CMMC, but you're just now taking it seriously enough to ask them what they're doing about CMMC. What's their package to get you through, or what is their timeline or the look of it of getting you from where you're at now to assessment ready and the maintenance afterwards? I would think that they should have something that shows that if they can get you through the finish line and the maintenance afterwards.
So are you thinking that you want to see an overarching picture of what not only assessment ready, but the next 3 years when you go to see yours? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
That's revolutionary, Kaleigh.
Is that amazing?
That's
Did I come
that
up with something new?
yeah. I
Wow.
mean, sadly, that's kinda new in the industry, sadly. But yeah, you're so right. Because it's not about just getting the client across the finish line, and then you just
Mhm.
hop on our horse and ride away in the sunset and go, "We're done, peace." Like you they've got
Especially
continued
if they're your
compliance.
MSP. I wanna
Right,
be clear about that too. They're in this. They're in it.
right,
They're helping you with stuff all the time. They're doing tickets for you all the time. Are they doing that in a compliant manner?
right. They still have to do yeah, just because you convince the assessor that you're doing it right, and then after they leave, they're like, "All right, guys, we're shutting this whole change control down because it sucks." And you're
It
like,
sucks.
and you just don't do it anymore, and then you stand it all back up again when we're like 8 months into your assessment. I mean,
Crazy.
let's just break down how many things you're gonna have a problem with that. Again, like I was talking about earlier in Jan like, I said January, this twice I've done it. in December, you have to, at least as you're coming close to whatever the yearly cycle is, you have to attest an SPRS that you're meeting the DFAR clauses that you have accepted in your contracts. Remember, CMMC is a validation of what you're supposed to be doing based on your DFARs. It is not the arbiter of forcing you to do the compliance. The fact that you signed the contract and did it is the fact that you're saying you're doing it, not
Yes.
CMMC. CMMC
Yes.
is just a testing methodology, right? It just validates that you're doing what you said you were doing when you signed it on the dotted line.
So stop putting your middle
Like,
finger up to
right.
CMMC. You already signed it.
You just gotta flag off the DoD and NIST about how they built it, right? That's between those two and you. So that's kind of what got you there. So that's really important for you to kind of understand that that is the relationship that has to happen. And those contracts didn't get deleted after you get your level 2 certification. You have to have continued compliance for those contracts. And you have to attest to those in SPRS every year. And that is evidence either for your successful accomplishing those contracts, or it is successfully providing evidence for the DOJ when they come to talk to you about how you thought this was a joke and it really wasn't, right? Because you didn't then follow any of the stuff that you were saying. You went through and lied on your SPRS scores and submitted the things that you did. It requires specific information about how you're supposed to fill out that attestation, and you lied on what you're doing, and you didn't fill out any of the evidence requirements that the DFARS does. Ignorance is not bliss.
New meme in progress. It's Roz from Monsters Inc. And it's like, you didn't fill out your paperwork last night.
Didn't fill out your SPRS paperwork. Yeah.
Okay, Malia, write that down. I got it. But
Yeah.
it's so everything that you're saying is so true. And I feel like for some people who have listened to multiple of our podcast episodes, which if you have, thank you so much for listening to multiple.
We love you.
appreciate you. We love you. But
If
also
you see us in a conference, ask for a shirt.
yes, you
earned
will
it.
get a shirt. Yes,
Free
from
shirt.
us.
Something like this.
Something like, here he goes. He's going to grab it. For those of you who
I
are
was showing the students in the class, like,
for those of you listeners who are listening, it says, when this baby hits 88 SPRS, you're going to see some serious compliance with a lovely
DeLorean.
DeLorean in the middle. But those people are probably listening to this like, I feel like they've said this before. Like, you're kind of beating, a dead horse. And it's like, well, maybe the dead horse is still dead and it's not awake yet, and it needs to be beaten again.
Put it back, double tap it one more
It
time.
needs to be resuscitated back to life, and it is still not living. It's still not kicking. I can't tell you how many people I still talk to about this stuff, and it's so scary because they waste so much time with somebody who knows nothing and is not getting them anywhere, and it sucks. They waste so much money and so much time and then end up coming to us, which does have to start them over again because we have a scalable process that we send our clients through, and we can't just do whatever you feel like whenever you come to us because that's not realistic. And that's like that for anybody who you go to. So if somebody's saying they can just hop into your environment and take it over with how you used to be doing it with your other provider, that makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it because everybody has their own scalable process that they have created, that they've built, that they've shown their technicians and their staff how to do so that they can do it. And then they're going to take you through that, And so that's why this is so, so important to get right. Ask your providers these questions because you can waste so much money and so much valuable time that is greatly needed, especially if you're trying to do this year to win bids and like contracts. That's crazy talk. You're running on low time already. So
bingo on fuel.
ask these questions. Please, please, please ask these questions. And they should have answers to them. And if they don't, maybe you need to find somebody that does have the answers to those questions. Bobby, are there any other things that you could recommend before I close out today? Can you think of anything else that you can say?
No, you crushed it.
Okay. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, you did good.
You also crushed it.
I just ranted
No, I think
passionately in my beliefs.
And I will close with saying we will have the list of the questions below too that we talked about today, and I want to make sure that you guys all know That if you have any other things that you want to specifically hear about, like from an MSP perspective or just in the ecosystem, feel free to put comments below, and let us know that you want to hear about these certain topics or maybe a specific question like the CRM question.
I've
We
got
could get into
I
that.
got something.
Oh,
Now I was just thinking about it. Like if you're an MSP and you're like, I want to get in this. I hear what you're saying. I want to take it real serious about making sure I'm doing it right before I don't want to try to learn on somebody's time.
yeah.
Bobby, can I spend, 3 days of your time picking your brain on how to do that? The answer is no, because I have clients I got to deal with, right? But you can go to conferences like
Mhm,
CS5. And if you see us in the hallways, we love talking about CMMC. That's why we're there, to share and learn and work with other people.
mhm,
That's when you can pick a lot of really smart people, smarter than me, at those conferences, and I can make those introductions and you can get to
mhm,
know people. If you're serious about doing it, come to like CS5, come to
mhm.
conferences, get to know, get in the industry. Just say, hey, can you just give me everything I need to know so I spend as little time as possible so that I can then get in the industry and be super effective? That sounds great. I wish I would have liked to have had that happen for me. There's still things I'm still trying to figure out. So if you can tell me the answers to those, then I can do the same to you. That would be great.
Yeah.
But like that's the world we live in. You've got to get on the mat and start wrestling, right?
Mhm,
So there's no shortcuts, folks.
mhm.
So if you're an MSP that wants to come in this space, just come to the conferences, start getting the ecosystem and start seeing what it is. Stop looking for the shortcut, the easy path to get in the industry with the least amount of effort. Give that thought up. That ain't there.
Yes.
It is, these are deep waters that you're going to be playing in. So you got to get seriously committed about doing it. There's no half pregnant in this. Like you are all in or out.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to be involved in CMMC, your CMMC is going to be part of the package and MSP you're going to offer. That is a huge commitment. You've got to have an environment that's capable of supporting it. You've got to have the staff that's capable of trained. You've got to have the processes, procedures, matrix, the training, all that comes along. And if you want to evaluate and see if that's something you want to dip into, great. Come to a conference and see what that's all about. And
Mhm.
that'll be money well spent.
Yes. And if you're saying like, "Oh, I can't go to CS5 this year," whatever. Well, guess what? We care so much about you that we're coming to MSP events this year even
Right.
because we're going to be coming to places like IT Nation,
MSP
MSP
Geekon,
Geekon
we'll be there.
is a great one. Another one, PAX 8 and Beyond. PAX 8 Beyond, we went last year even to that as well to talk about CMMC, but we're trying to come to all of those events and bring CMMC, just a little piece of
To the
CMMC to
masses.
those to the masses. Yes, we're not claiming CMMC Jesus, so let us be clear. Let us be clear about that still.
No.
But yes, please make sure to I'll put the link as well. Well, I won't say me. Malia will put the link in the description below that has our event dates too. So you can check out what events that we're going to as well. But there are plenty out there that you can go and check out for resources. So please make sure to do that. Also, please make sure to follow us on LinkedIn or YouTube or Spotify, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. Make sure to subscribe and follow us so that you're notified when we post new stuff. But spoiler alert, it's every Thursday. So make sure to tune in every Thursday to a new episode of Climbing Mount CMMC. But until then, guys, as always, keep on climbing. See ya. Make sure to follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube to stay up to date on the latest CMMC news. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode and listen out for the next one. But until then, keep on climbing.